Okay, the Anderson County Transportation Committee is a committee that was set up a number of years ago to help the county and the municipalities in the state with the local money generated from the sales tax on gasoline and on fuel. And we got 2.6 cents a gallon is what it was, and that goes into a pot that comes to counties based upon the number of miles of road they have. So the committee is charged with spending that money in appropriate ways, in the best way to be able to benefit the motoring public in Anderson County. And the money can be used for resurfacing roads, for maintaining the roads. Part of the money is specified, though, that we have to share with the state highway system. So 25% of all the funds we get, and we get about $2.5–3 million average from that to Anderson County, and 25% has to go to state roads. The other 75% can go to county roads and municipality roads. And through the years, it's evolved in the way that the money is spent. It used to be, it could be spent on things like safety issues on driveways and sidewalks, those type of things. But as the roads deteriorated more, the policies of the committee changed to where we totally, completely work with just roads and not have anything to do with sidewalks, don't have anything to do with parking lots, don't have anything to do with anything but roads, resurfacing roads, and making it better for the motoring public. So the legislative delegation is the one that appoints members to the Anderson County Transportation Committee. And it's 7 of us on it, and each delegation member can nominate who they want, or people can make application to the delegation, really is what it is, and to serve. And then the delegation really makes those appointments. And the committee is staggered in its terms so that it's not just a total new committee every 2 years. It's rotated around. So that's what we're about, and we meet about once a quarter to be able to go through the projects that have been submitted to us to ask for help and assistance on it. We've helped the county with a number of roads, we've helped municipalities with roads, and we've helped the state with roads. So that's what the committee is about.
Do y'all work with Hopkins at the county on prioritizing and stuff too, or is that more what they do and they come to y'all and they need help on some of their?
Well, they give us a list of what their county council members get from the general public that in their districts, and they'll bring that list, and we prioritize it based on a number of factors. It could be on traffic count, it could be on what safety issues are there surrounding that particular road. So we do make judgment calls on the projects that come to try to get those that are most beneficial to upgrade, to change, to resurface, to make it safer, as well as keep the maintenance of the road firm, to where you don't have to just tear everything up and start over. We want to try to maintain what we've got.
Anderson County is a big county with a lot of roads.
Oh yeah.
So what are some of the challenges that y'all face having to deal with that notion that it is a really big county with a really large road system?
Well, you know, when you look at the county as north to south and east to west, of course you know those tributaries that come off interstate are of course going to have more road traffic on them. But you also got streets in towns that are traveled right regularly because the number of people live on the streets. Whether or not we've had freezes during the winter time that make some roads deteriorate more, whether bridges are needing to be replaced, whether or not potholes have formed because of bad road being built on a deteriorating base. But traffic count, safety, and really sometimes how long has it been since that road has had any attention to it. And a lot of them had to be postponed because we just didn't have the money to maintain them. And the county's done, you know, everything they could, I think, to maintain their roads. The state has done that same thing, but the lacking of money has caused a lot of them to be patched, and then the patching goes bad, and then it's got to be repatched. And so what we look at is trying to resurface the whole road instead of just going there and patch it. Something that's going to last for a duration of 5, 6, 7 years, hopefully. All of that is a factor in how we make those judgments. And we try to be as fair with one part of the county as we do another. One municipality as we do another. And some of the municipalities and the county are doing some what we call match money. They may put in some of their money from their budget, local budget, to help stretch what we give them.
You've approached this at the state level and now on this level. What needs to be done to get what we need to fix the roads? Is there something that a piece of the puzzle is missing, or?
Well, you got to understand that as the population grows, there's a bigger demand on all government services, not just roads. We have an infrastructure that is made up of not just roads, but we have sewer and we have water needs and all of these other things that have to do bridges with infrastructure. As industry comes in, we got to upgrade a lot of our infrastructure to be able to match what they need and to be able to take care of that. But it's not just the infrastructure of roads and bridges and water and sewer. It's also that backbone of employment that has to be addressed too, along with economic development. And I think Anderson County schools and school districts and Anderson County as a whole has been a leader in this state in recognizing that education is an important factor in being able to bring people in for jobs. And of course, education is not just reading and writing anymore. It's about being able to perform a skill and to do it well. And so we've seen our schools go more to some of the career and technology type stuff that kids enjoy doing, and they get to learn more about math whenever they figure what the width of a board is and how long, and all of the things that these career technology courses are teaching them is really reinforcing what the basics of the high school curriculum is in math and science and writing and reading, and that is dynamic to me to see all of these come together and realize that they're partners together. If you don't have good roads for people to go to work, they're not probably going to be being able to get there like they should be. We've got people that are commuting farther now to be able to come in. They'd rather live in another part of even Anderson County and work in another part, not just next door. Some of you smaller towns that don't have industry in them, they're finding that they got to drive farther to be able to have a job. So we want to keep the roads in good shape, make them safe to where they're not torn up, but they're traveled in a way that doesn't jeopardize the welfare of anybody along that road, safety features or factors. We've got a great legislative delegation that looks at these things. I think they've voted that way in Columbia. We're very fortunate to have the people in the legislative delegation in Columbia that are speaking for Anderson County. I think we've got good people on county council that are speaking well for what the people in the county want. And they work well with the delegation and vice versa. We're seeing the combination of District 5 and 4 and 3 going together to build a career center. We're seeing people work together to put all these pieces of this puzzle for progress together. And that makes me so happy to see and to be able to live in a county that I was born in and grown up in and my family's been in for 100 years or more, to be that progressive. We've got a lot of good people in Anderson County, and people that are thinking about what the future really means to the population that's coming behind them. So when we see 3, 4, and 5 going together to build a career center, to be able to work with Tri-County Tech, we've got Anderson University that is giving kids a great education there. We've got Clemson University close by that we're utilizing with that. Erskine College is still another good foundation of higher education that we're seeing people driving back and forth to more instead of staying at. You got a lot of day students at Tri-County. You got a lot of day students at Clemson. You've got a lot of day students at Anderson University. All of these are benefiting from what we as a committee do on making roads better for them. We want to be a partner in that, and we want to be a partner to the delegation, the legislative delegation. That a lot of times Senator Gamble will call me about something they're doing on roads, or Representative Thayer, or Representative White. We try to stay a part of that puzzle of what it takes to move things together and work together. And I think that's the important part of Anderson County. At one time, it seemed like we were going in different directions, but in recent years, I've seen things just so much more together, and it makes me just so proud of all of them.
And you mentioned education. I'm going to come back to that because I know that was one of your passions when you were at the State House. But let's go back a little bit. You're from Anderson. At what point did you decide you were going to get involved in community service and public service? When in your life did you think, hey, I might want to be involved in this?
Well, I've really got my father-in-law to thank for that. He was Herman Fields, and he encouraged me to be a part of the community right after we were married. My wife and I was involved in helping establish Ebenezer Fire Department. I was on the first part of that. I also was very active with the farming organization in Anderson County with the ASCS, they call it now. Then it's now Farm Service Center. And there's a county committee that oversees some of the programs that the federal government does for farmers. So I served on that committee for about 9 years. Ran for the school board and was elected to the school board, and I served in the District 2 school board for about 5 years. And I left there and went to the House and spent 22 years there. I was very fortunate to have a good one to follow me, and that was Representative Gamble at that time, who's now our senator. And I think our part of the county, many people think about Honeypath had been a political, big part for the political life in Anderson County. And I graduated from Honeypath High School. I was in the last graduating class there before BHP came along. So I've been involved in a lot of different things, in church work. I've been a Sunday school teacher. I've been a deacon in a Methodist church I was raised in, and I joined the Baptist church. I've been a Baptist for many, many years now. But I think when you give to your community, I serve on the board of directors of Ebenezer Fire Department, on the Broadway Water and Sewer Board. Those things to me is where you're helping your neighbor in ways for all of this structure that needs to be put together. And when you can see the benefit of water, you benefit the fire department, because they're going to have water. They got to have places to fill up those trucks and fight fire and to save people's lives, to save property. They got to have good roads to run those trucks on. You can't take a truck off on a bad road and expect it to get there as soon as it could. We want them to be able to respond as fast as possible. We want laws that are common sense laws, things that make life worth living for people instead of being a pain to people. I worry about a lot of times the school buses out there. We got so many kids riding school buses, and we want roads safe for those kids to be able to get on those buses by, have good sight distance and good shoulders for them to be able to be there. We want people to stop for the stop arm on the school bus so it doesn't hurt a child. We have too many accidents in this state and people running these stop signs on those school buses. Those are practical laws that need to be, better enforced and better able to take care of the kids. So if people is running those stop signs, if they hit a child, that's a child's life. We'll never see what they could be. And might have been the next governor or next president. I just believe that all of us working together as a community make things better.
You were in the House during a time right after Home Rule when Anderson really began to emerge as a leader. Because before that, Anderson had some leadership, but not really statewide notice particularly. What are some of the things that did that? I know one of the things is we're now the largest, the county with the most international investment.
Mm-hmm.
We have more than any other county. Almost nobody knows that. But what are some of the things that helped bring Anderson from where it was to the place it is now, Anderson County?
Well, you've got to go back and probably during that period of time, a lot of people don't realize that at one time the legislative delegation wrote the county budget. And we had a supervisor, and with the supervisor they did. Well, when home rule came into effect and the county council itself was created, there was I think a growing pain there that they had to understand kind of where they were at, and the legislative delegation members that had been a part of that had to wean away from doing that. And that was people that you go back to Senator Ed Garrison and to Dolly Cooper and to Pat Harris, and all of those folks started to lay in the foundation for a stronger, more progressive Anderson County, because Pat served as on the Finance Committee as Ways and Means. Ed Garrison served on the Senate Finance Committee. They could see where there was necessary to spend dollars at to be able to make Anderson more progressive. And I know that through them and the C funds that we had at that time, and through aid to subdivision money that in the state budget that would come back to the counties and municipalities, all were in accord with where we wanted to be progressively. And we started to see in the leadership in the county council step forward. We saw the administrative part step forward. We saw school districts starting to realize, well, we got to have a better we got to have a better curriculum here. We're seeing new jobs come in. The old mills are closing. Agriculture is reducing in its importance in Anderson. At one time, we were one of the largest wheat producing counties in the state, one of the biggest dairy counties. All that's gone away, so it was left to people to be able to look at what kind of jobs they wanted. And that was where those of us that were elected to office had to look to and say, okay, if I do this today, will that benefit tomorrow better? Or if I don't do this today, will we hurt tomorrow? And it was always those questions that came along. You got Representative Brian White as Chairman of Ways and Means now, still looking at being able to bring jobs to Anderson County. Former Representative Dan Cooper working with Tri-County. Dan was Chairman of Ways and Means. He could see the bigger picture when he was there. I was Chairman of the Education Committee, and I could see the bigger picture of looking what K-12 was versus higher education versus homeschooling for charter schools, all of those things and how they put together. I think we kind of prepared ourselves in a way to look progressive, vote progressive, and be progressive for Anderson County and for the people in Anderson County. Now, some people won't agree with that, and I wouldn't debate them, But till you see the bigger picture, a lot of times it's easier to criticize what one person's doing or a group of people doing. But these members of the legislature and county council, they see a bigger picture than the average person out there sees, because they're in touch with so many different people and they see so many different things and they have more opportunity to see things. And if they don't take that opportunity to benefit their area, I think that they're doing an injustice to the districts they represent. But we've had a very progressive group, and I think looked at things and didn't want to just stifle. I know there's a lot to be said for heritage and for history. I know that. I live on a century farm. Been in our family for over 100 years. I take great pride in that. I shouldn't miss out on the fact that that farm was a productive farm for many, many years, but it's not what today's generation is going to look for. They're looking for something different. I can't be stuck in the past and say, well, this is good enough for me, it's got to be good enough for you. You've got to look and say, where's a better limit, where's a better adjustment we can make to move up to that next level? And how do we educate you to do that? It's amazing to me to go into some of these career centers and watch a student learn to be a broadcaster for television. And we've got those courses out there up at the Career Center between Belton and Williamston. We've got them learning how to do radio broadcasting. We've got them learning how to weld and to build things, and how to be better law enforcement, how to fight fires better. All those courses are things that benefit communities. You know, you want somebody truthful at the mic at a television station or a radio station, telling the truth to the people, not propaganda. You want a fireman that's well qualified to go to fight a fire. You want somebody that's EMS qualified. You want somebody in law enforcement that's not going to be out there and be haphazard with what they're doing to enforce the law. You want people that's in hairdressing, they teaching them to do a lot of cosmetics and hairdressing. All those things are what people need every day. We don't think about it sometimes, but where do you call 911? Why do you call them? You want somebody to come. We better have somebody prepared to do it. And that's where I think leadership's about, is looking at those things and responding to them in a way you can and being a part of it. It takes time. But if you don't love it, you still ought to understand why it has to be done. And there's people that want to criticize political leaders, people that are sticking their neck out on a line to be elected, and then have all of the other stuff that happens around them that comes back and somebody says, oh, you're just a dumb politician. Yeah, these folks, I mean, support your government, folks. You may not like what they do at that particular point in time, but talk to them, ask them questions, share with them. I don't know everything. I don't want to proclaim to. But people would come up to me in the grocery store and say, you ought to do this, or we ought to have a law to do that, or we would like for you to be able to do this. And I'm sure it's happening to every representative and every senator in this state. If they'll take time to listen to them, they can pick up an awful lot about what people are saying in the community.
You mentioned names, Pat Harris and Dolly Cooper and T. Ed Garrison. They've all got facilities and buildings named after them. We're sitting right here in a building named after you. Why?
I'm very humbled at that. I have no idea why that happened.
Why are you still involved? I mean, you could just say, I've done my time, I've spent 50 years in public service, I'm going to go play with my grandkids. Why are you still involved?
I love this county. I love the community I live in. I love the church people that I go to church with. I think God gives us opportunities to serve our fellow man in more ways than just being in a pew at church, or being in a religious organization, or in any other. We all have talents that He gives us. He expects us to use them. And I think He'll tell me when it's time for me to quit. So far, He's told me.